Good Thursday morning. It's the main event. I'm your humble host, Stephen McCollum, who has not turned off the monitors in the studio room. Yes, sometimes I self-impose my humbleness with my mistakes that I make going into the show. And you know him as 17-year NFL veteran, 3-time Super Bowl champion for your Dallas Cowboys, Dale Hill. Just kidding. He's up in Las Vegas. Him and John Giesecke both played for the Raiders, and at least Dale was on the team, as he'll tell you. Was injured for the year there before he got shipped off to Dallas in that trade. They're up in Las Vegas for a Raiders reunion, and that's where they are, and Dale is here for the rest of this week. He'll be back on Monday, but alas, I got you through the rest of today, through tomorrow as well. Uncle Lou joins us second half of the hour today. Of course, talk NFL. Right, last preseason games start tonight. Friday, Saturday. I think there's one Sunday. I don't exactly remember off the top of my head. Can't remember if they go to Sunday this week. There'd be only one or so on Sunday if there is one. And then we get a little bit of a break before the regular season commences around the NFL. I always say 10 days between the two, but it differs on which team you are and things to that effect. But folks, the dress rehearsal is wrapping up this weekend. Of course, college football starts this weekend. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. We kind of hit on it a little bit yesterday in our first hour, getting you ready for college football. But that's right around the corner. Big games this weekend. Of course, we're still waiting on Arizona State to officially name their quarterback. We know who it's going to be. Morgan State is 9 days away, roughly, or is it 10 days away? Might be 10 days away today. Next Saturday, the 4th, is what we are looking at from that side. Really quick, I do want to say I appreciate everybody's comments and everything on the Mike Sheehan, the bird's eye view version of the show. These last couple of weeks with him back on again this year. I appreciate the positive feedbacks on that. No negatives, but no negatives yet. Those do come as the season goes on. But I do appreciate the kind comments I see out there, and some of you put it into the text line. Some of you DM'd on Twitter to TME Sports Show. I appreciate those comments very much out there as well. Because, look, we work hard. He's gracious enough to join us. As I said yesterday, he squeezed us in. If you missed that, they're off this week. No fault of their own here as well. And, was gracious enough to come on yesterday and squeeze us into his busy schedule, with all the craziness they're going through with their schedule and things to that effect. So it was really nice for that to happen. And your guys' kind words as well. Uncle Lou comes up at 9 o'clock. But look, Cardinals were in Green Bay for a joint practice yesterday. A festive joint practice, as they generally tend to be. No big fights broke out yesterday, but there were some scuffles happening and stuff to that effect. We'll talk a little bit about that. Of course, they're facing each other in the final preseason game tomorrow night, Friday night as well, from Green Bay for the Arizona Cardinals. Then their season begins out there. Interesting enough, I told you guys early on, I said the Diamondbacks are going to cover the 3.5. They're going to do better than 3.5 wins. I put my $10 on it, just as a season bet there and stuff to that effect. You're starting to see more and more people, and Luke came out and told you guys he thought they'd be better than the 3.5 a few weeks ago as well. And you're starting to see more and more people be impressed with the Cardinals side of it. And most importantly, folks, this is why you listen to us here at the main event. You're starting to hear Saturday night, I was at that preseason game with the Cowboys. And I put a tweet out that said, my quarterback room, and I brought it up with Bruce Cooper on Tuesday, my quarterback room would be Brissett, Beck, Slovis. Meaning I would trade Gardner Minshew to someplace else. You're starting to see more entities come out with that thinking. I know 98.7's Tyler Drake came out yesterday with an article saying, you could cut him. Not all stems around Beck's deal, but you're starting to see more and more beat writers around the Cardinals and stuff like that kind of wake up to the same thinking I'm thinking. You have the same quarterback, Brissett and Jacob and Brissett and Minshew, and you have a quarterback everybody wants to see what he can do. Cut out one of those steps and let's get going. So you're starting to see that narrative more and more out there as well, around the marketplace. But we're not going to start NFL here. Of course, Diamondbacks went into yesterday's game or day game, Erod on the mound, and just another stellar outing by Rodriguez yesterday. Diamondbacks go out there and they get the series win over the Chicago Cubs, who are an unbelievable team this year. Like I told you, I've watched a lot of Cubs games. PCA, Pete Crow Armstrong, to me, he's the MVP of the league. I know there's some other guys out there people are leaning towards and things to that effect. But to me, he is the MVP of the league so far. It didn't have that great of a series here, compared to what you've seen him do in other series out there. But the Cubs are a really good team. I've told you I haven't watched many. I've seen only a handful, if a handful. A handful would be lucky, of Milwaukee Brewers games this year. And I'm sitting here going, I know Milwaukee's leading their division with the fewest home runs ever hit, in a season and all that stuff. And I'm like, how good are the Milwaukee Brewers? Because the Cubs are dang good. So how good are the Milwaukee Brewers if they stay ahead of the Cubs in that division, right? So we've been all over that before. And then I said my big thing about, and Robert knows where I'm going with this, the Bach call yesterday. I love these debates around baseball. They crack me up 100% out there. And we'll get to Robert's comment in a minute here, and we're going to get into the Bach side. But I told you, I said, hey, the Cubs have the ability to score a lot of runs quick. And we saw that in game one. Well, what was it? I can't remember now, but what was it, a 2-1 or 3-1 or 3-0 ball game, 2-0 ball game? And then the Cubs got to the Diamondbacks bullpen, ends up being, a 7-0 victory. They can score runs in bunches. Erod went out there yesterday and just shut him down. I do have a caveat I have to say, though, about yesterday's game. Right? Lawler took that ball off the head, and I was like, all right, he's probably off today, because I was going off of just what Torrey and them do when guys get kind of hurt like that, right? Is they go, we got to give him more time, that type of stuff. Pleasantly surprised to see Lawler in the lineup yesterday. And you're not winning that game without Lawler also getting into that game. You're not winning it without him. He's the one that produced the scores out there as well. So I was pleasantly surprised that Lawler did make it into that game. I didn't think it wasn't because Lawler didn't want to play. I just think head injuries, you can tend to take it easy a little bit, kind of pull back a little bit on those head injury type stuff in order to, protect a player in those types of situations out there. So Diamondbacks win the series. But the big news out of this, and we're going to have some fun with this here, folks, the Bach. Here's my opinion of the Bach in baseball. Nobody knows what it is. Nobody. Umpires, no idea. Players, no idea. Coaches, no idea. That's the bottom line about a Bach. You literally, now there's something in dynamics a little bit different about this one, but I've never seen a Bach called where somebody somewhere went, what? And an argument happened. If a third base umpire calls it, everybody on the field goes, wait, what? It's an amazing thing to see on a Bach. It's like open for interpretation, even though it's really not. Even if you went to social media yesterday after the play happened, people were arguing. People become Bach experts, and they're just flat out wrong about it. On top of it, it's hilarious to see. People dig into the rule book and all of this stuff to find out if it's a Bach or not and all of this other stuff out there. It cracks me up. Baseball guys that claim they're know-it-alls of baseball go out there and they post rules and how it's this and how it's that. Now, the caveat here is it was a Bach yesterday. It 100% was. He stepped off the rubber on his delivery. 100% was. I'm going to tell you why the umpires missed it, though. It was an amazing move, and I can understand why they missed it. I can understand why the Cubs were upset about it. I can understand how the Diamondbacks were like, all right. And I also know why the umpires missed it. It's pretty blatant why they missed it. And it just cracks me up, though, that just everybody becomes a Bach expert. And I'm just telling you, folks, right here, right now, I can show you 30 pitches. Bachs or not Bachs. you will get it wrong most of the time. It's a weird thing that happens. Some are really obvious, but they're rarely really obvious. And there's just always disagreements around it. And it's one thing that cracks me up about it. And the amount of uproar around this one play yesterday does kind of crack me up a little bit. PCA was right, by the way. It was a balk. 100%. But he's the only one that saw it. I mean, everybody claims to have seen it when they watch the broadcast. You have to watch the replay like 3 times to see what happens. In real time, did you really see it? That's my question. I'm not doubting you. You might have. Did you see it in real time? It happened quick. And it was an unusual balk call on top of it. You know, he didn't continue his motion. You have to stop if you're a pitcher. That's usually when they're called, is you don't stop in your rotation, stuff to that effect. It was such an unusual balk call that I understand why the umpires missed it. It's kind of a fascinating thing to see here in everything. It just cracks me up how it goes. I'm not saying nobody caught it live because I'm sure somebody did. I'm just saying most people didn't catch the balk live last night. You had to watch the replay. And the Diamondbacks replay didn't do a great job of explaining it. I went to the Marquee Sports Network, who does the Cubs games. They did a splendid job showing you the angle that did it in real time. They showed you that angle to kind of go on that side. Robert says that was a balk. And he also says PCA will be taking an 80-game vacation soon. Are you saying PCA's on the juice or taking something, Robert? Is that what you're trying to say there? He's a phenomenal player, though. I'm not doubting you on that comment. It wouldn't surprise me, but man, he's doing some amazing things this year to see. Ann says, I was shocked to see Lawler, but so grateful for his home run. Yeah, I saw him in the lineup, and I went, wait, what? Lawler's actually playing today. Nice. Again, with the way they are with players in the Diamondbacks organization, I get it. If he took a ball off his arm or his leg, and it swelled, he'd probably be out there. Just head injuries, though, that looked bad, too. That looked like bad when it hit him. So I just kind of like they're going to give him the day off. And thank God they didn't. You won the series because of him as well on that side of things. Ann says, I feel like baseball has the most unclear set of rules. Yeah, go to the rule book and look up what a balk is. It's literally a bunch of maybe this happens, then you call it. If this happens, you call it. It's not as simple as ball touches the ground, it's in play. If the ball catches in the air, it's an out. It's these convoluted rules and things like that. Balks are an amazing. I almost feel like it's a judgment call. Let's put it that way. And if you do like I said, the easiest balk is a pitcher doesn't become set before he goes home. That's easy to see. And even then, it's questionable at times if you watch it. It's questionable at times. There have been balks called this year where the pitcher has done the same thing in the 7th inning, 6th inning as he did in the 1st inning. Twitched a little before he would throw. I don't remember who the pitcher was, but I remember watching it. They let it go all through the first 4 or 5 innings. All of a sudden, 6th, 7th inning, call the balk. Changed nothing. Went to the set position, twitched his legs, and then threw home. All game long, they allowed it. And all of a sudden, they determined it was a balk. It's the most amazing, controversial stat on the planet, and they can call it anytime they want to. It's amazing. Or not call it anytime they want to. But my favorite part is just going to the social medias and watching all these people claiming to be experts at baseball, just claiming that's a balk, that it's not a balk. Now, yesterday was a balk. I'm not going to lie to you. That was a balk. I get how the umpires, and people are like, how did the umpires miss that? It's easy how they missed it. Did you see how fast it happened? I had to watch the replay twice before I even figured out what he did. And I'm not a baseball expert by any means. Some people probably caught it live. Most did not, though. Most saying they saw it live didn't see it live. I'm just telling you guys out there. It's impossible to see it out there and that stuff. Yeah. Robert said, great quote by legendary former umpire Ron Luciano. Quote, I never called a ball in my life. I don't understand the rule. Unquote. Yeah. But that is, and is dead on, and Roberts is dead on with that quote as well. Baseball's rules are so unambiguous. That's why every year there's like some rule we don't know about that the umpires have to huddle together to get. You know, it's just there's always something that isn't clearly defined or hasn't happened. It's an amazing thing. And Bach's one of those rules as well. Out there, he says, "I'm sorry, I've never called a balk in my life. I never understood the rule." Yeah, it cracks me up. And then the controversy around it, and rightfully so, by the way. The Cubs were scuffling in this game. 2 outs, 6th inning, I believe it was. 2 outs, PCA's on third. A balk, run scores. Get some momentum if you're the Cubs. You get a run across the plate. Instead, end of inning, no scores run. Eventually. That was a big play for the Cubs. I get the anger on the Cubs side. But even then, the anger on the Cubs side wasn't like pure anger, other than Pete Crow Armstrong, who lost his mind. How you're not ejected in that situation, I don't know. The umpires gave him I think the umpires gave him a lot of grace in level and area because they were probably like, we probably missed that. So we'll let him be angry about it. I think that's probably what happened, right? Because that was borderline get tossed type of motions from him, right? And those things. Other than that, the Cubs really didn't react otherwise. Now, the manager had some comments after the game and stuff like that. It was amazing, a side of it out there. And then Robert says, you go from a 289 on-base percentage to an MVP. He goes, smells fishy. I get that. We've seen guys do that before. I'm not disagreeing with you. Pete Crow Armstrong is playing out of his mind this year. That's why he's an MVP candidate. That's why in my mind he's the MVP candidate. Did you watch that Dodgers-Cubs series a couple weeks ago? Ohtani hits a home run. Pete Crow's all like, I'll show your home run up with another home run. It was just unbelievable the way he's playing and stuff to that effect. I get it. I understand what you're saying, Robert. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with it, but he's going to be like Cal Raleigh last year, right? 60 home runs. And what does he have, like 56 hits this year total? And last year he had 60 home runs. There's an ebb and flow to players here in this league and stuff to that effect and everything, and whatnot. Autumn says even the announcers I didn't have the sound on for I was at something, so I couldn't have the sound on when I was watching the game. Is that the Diamondbacks announcers saying PCA should have been tossed? Because yeah, I mean it was uncalled for. He should have been. But again, I think the umpires were kind of like, "Hey, settle down. We missed it. We got it. There's nothing we can do about it. So you need to settle down." And they gave him a little bit of rope. That does happen. So I can understand that side as well. And does say, Robert, you have a point. The amount of aggression that PCA had when it wasn't a balk. Yeah, that was the other side. If you want to be, you want to make your claim that you're not on a substance, that anger that he had instantly when they said no balk was kind of amazing as well. So, Ann says it looked like the third base coach had to pick him up and carry him back to third. Not just that, Ann. The third base coach, after the inning ended, walked him to the dugout before going back and talking to the umpires. The third base coach walked PCA all the way to the Cubs dugout so he wouldn't say stuff and get tossed. And then he went back out to talk to him again. It was just the whole culmination of it there. We're going to show it to you. We're going to show you Tori's comments on it. We're going to show you the pool report, which I'm going to give the umpires a lot of grace here as well. Like I said, I understand why they missed it. I'm going to kind of just show you my thought process. I'm not saying they shouldn't have missed it. I'm saying I understand why they did. It happened quick, folks. And it's like that Janet Jackson Super Bowl halftime. Where, like, I remember I saw it live, but I didn't think anything of it. You know, the one where Justin Timberlake, whatever. Look it up if you want to know about that. But the amount of people that were outraged because they saw it. No, you saw it because they kept showing you the replay afterwards nonstop, everywhere. But most of you didn't see it live, or most of you weren't outraged when you saw it live. I remember seeing it live and just being like, oh, that was weird, but whatever. Who cares? Didn't have a reaction to it at all. But 2 days later, after seeing the replays all the time, I certainly had an opinion about it. I think that's the way this balk call is going to be as well. Very few people saw it live. is what I'm getting at as we go forward. So if you did, let me know. I'm curious on that side of it. I'm not doubting you. I'm not going to doubt you and say you're an idiot and you're wrong, and things to that effect. Even the broadcasters who were at the stadium were on the replay. I watched the marquee replays and I watched what the Diamondbacks feed said about it as well. In the moment, I watched them both. I went right to marquee after the broadcast side on the Diamondback. They were trying to figure out, both the announcers were trying to figure out what he did and stuff to that effect. It's box are an amazing thing for me. And it goes to unwritten rules and everything around baseball. It just cracks me up how just unbelievably questionable balk calls are out there as well. So, and says, Autumn says, when will we hear Torey's apology for the balk? Well, I actually thought of that last night. I said, is PCA going to apologize to the Diamondbacks? Is he going to call over to the Diamondbacks and apologize to them like Torey did for them losing their mind on them stealing the signs the night before? Are they going to have to go? Is the press conference today from the Cubs going to be how they called over because they were wrong about the balk? So they're going to call over to the Diamondbacks and apologize to them? It ain't going to happen, folks. I agree with Autumn on that take as well. There'll be no apology for the outrageous reaction from PCA yesterday. And with that call out there as well. Autumn says yes, the MLB app announcers on that. So I'm assuming you're listening to the Diamondbacks call. Because I can tell you this, the marquee people avoided. They just said he was heated. They avoided the whole conversation about PCA's attitude and all of that stuff out there. So, it is amazing. And Autumn's not wrong. For some reason, the Diamondbacks are probably going to apologize to the Cubs for having that balk call because that's just simply what they do. Let's get into it. Torey Lovullo, I've said my opinion. I've read your guys' opinion on this as well. Join the YouTube chat, folks. And if you're watching us on demand later on, you can chat right there as well. We see them. We can talk about them as well, or text us 623-252-6670, or, of course, hit us up at X as well, TME Sports Show. Just tag TME Sports Show, and we'll see it during the show, and let's know. I'll just tell you right now, it was a balk. So during Torey Lovullo after the game made his comments about the balk. Now this is the replay I'm going to show because the broadcast didn't do a great job. The Diamondbacks broadcast and Marquee Network is copyrighted. I know, Ethan. I'll tell you. It's in the Torey speak here. Sorry, Ethan's talking in my ear here. So the marquee one is copyrighted, and we don't want to play it because it'll shut down the feed and stuff like that. They did a great job of looking at it right in the moment. Diamondbacks broadcast, not as much. So Torey is going to be speaking here. While he's speaking, they're going to cut to a clip of the balk that does show a good angle of what happens on the balk as well. So you're going to see two things in this clip. You're going to hear Torey speak after the game about the balk call, and then you're going to, in this moment, see the balk or see the pitch and see him. You'll see him very quickly. I'll just explain it to you. He steps off the rubber in the middle of his windup backwards. You're not allowed to do that. You're not. But look how fast it happens. If you're an umpire, you have all your restrictions and stuff to that effect. He came set, did that right. That's what they're looking for usually. And then the play at home. It happened so quick. You weren't ready for it. I understand why every umpire missed it. It happened that quick. Here it is. Torey after the game on the balk.
If all four of them have it, they're going to call a balk, and then they break it down from there. But without them all having it, I think they got their minds together and did the best they could. So sounds like it was a balk based on the reaction and the facial expression you guys are giving me right now, because we wouldn't be talking about it. So everything that PCA does is fast and like electric. So that's why he's one of the best in the game. And his response maybe told us how frustrated he was. So whatever happened, and we won the game. That's all I can go on.
All right, so Ethan, play it again, but turn the sound down on it. And then after the second replay, we'll take it down. So this is how close of it was. When you look at the camera angle behind the pitcher, you don't even see it right here. You don't even see him step off the plate there. So how's the second play? Now here you see it. See how he stepped backwards as he was going home? That's a balk. Absolutely, that's a balk. The camera angle from center field. How's the second base umpire supposed to see that? How's he supposed to see that? You have to go to that side angle. One more time, Ethan, for everybody watching at home here and everything. Again, first angle, behind home plate. You don't see him step off of it. You just see his foot move. This is the angle right here. Boom, quick, boom. Now, the third base umpire is watching PCH run down there, right? He's not watching the pitcher at that point. He's paying attention to what's happening in front of him, so he's going to miss it. Second base umpire, how's he going to see it with the behind the mound play there? He's going to miss it. First place umpire, I don't know what he's doing. Home plate umpire, he's paying attention to if he stops or not in the rotation. Then he's getting ready. He's got a runner coming down from third. He sees that through the corner of his eye. He's got to, he's like, I got to get into position. The pitch is coming. The pitcher came to a stop. How's he going to see him step off the backside? I can understand how the umpires miss this. It's an unusual balk position. Well, I tried looking it up and I couldn't figure out how to do it. When was the last time a balk was called? In that scenario, now balks do get called when you step off the mound and throw to first or throw to third. They do get called in that scenario. But he threw home. It's just, I can understand how the umpires missed it is all I'm saying on this side. Did they miss it? Yes, that was a balk. 100%. I understand how they missed it. 100%. PCA running down the baseline looking at it, he's got the perfect angle of it. And he's watching, doing what? He's watching the pitcher. So he's got the perfect angle of it. He's the only one. I almost will bet you the third base umpire, once that pitch starts going, his responsibility is for the runner getting in the right position and stuff to that effect. They missed it, but I can understand how they missed it, is what I'm trying to say to you out there. My favorite part about this is PCA. You saw, if you watched the game, you saw his anger. I mean, he was being held back. Umpire walked over to him or were talking to him. And I'm just telling you, I don't know the situation. I'm just telling you the umpires gave him a lot of rope probably because they were probably like, yeah. Because when the umpires huddled up, one of them probably went, that was a balk. But you need more than one person to confirm it when you huddle up. And so they were like, well, maybe we missed this call. Because one was like, I didn't see it. Two of them were like, oh, we didn't see it. And two of them were like, oh, it was a balk. And two of them were like, we didn't see it. Can't make the call then. So maybe their umpires were like, all right, we might have missed this one. So they gave him some rope there at third base while he was losing his mind. But after the game, something funny happens. PCA's talking. I cut this clip out. He talked a lot, reserved his comments as best as he could. I'm going to read one of the comments to you. But he did reserve his judgment. So much so, as he's talking, he's getting angrier here in this clip that I'm about to show you. He's literally getting angrier as he's talking. So what do you do when you're getting angry? You stop talking for a minute, right? And you take a deep breath. He does something even better that kind of cracks me up on how he does it. Pete Crow Armstrong in the locker room after the game talking about this play.
So when a guy is shoving it down your throat, pause. You got to find any way you can to make something happen, and that's exactly what I was just trying to do.
He verbalizes the pause. That is hilarious. Hilarious on his side of that as well. PCA did say on the non-balk call, because like I said, it was a big moment. 6th inning, on second, 2 outs. On third, 2 outs. A balk would have scored a run. And they ended up losing, right, in this game. Doesn't mean they would have won the game. But getting a run across the plate can do wonders for you in a game that you ultimately lose 2-0. It can be a changer, and it was early enough in the game, right, 6th inning, that it could have changed kind of the outlook of it. Could have changed some things. It definitely would have changed the at-bat of the batter. I don't remember who it was off the top of my head right now. But it would have changed the outlook of the batter if a run had come in and the player wasn't at third anymore. So I understand that perspective from there. But Pete Crow Armstrong in his comments said Quote, they're out there every day like we are. Their one job is to get calls right. And if they get it wrong, they're supposed to talk about it, figure it out, and get it right. And they didn't. I think they find new ways to screw something up every day. Do you get it now, Robert? Why I love me some Pete Crow Armstrong? God, that's an amazing sentence. First of all, enjoy your fine. Enjoy giving your money to charity out there, because that's coming. And I was actually fine with those comments to the last line there, but he's right. Yeah, Robert says he was reading the teleprompter that said pause. Yeah. The old, was that Anchorman? Go F yourself, San Diego. Ethan says, I don't think he was thinking on what he was saying there, so that's why he said pause. It just cracks me up. Just pause. Oh, Lord. But, enjoy your fine. That's coming your way. That's coming. But he's not wrong. The umpires are out there every day. But here's the thing. And he says their one job is to get calls right, and if they get it wrong, they're supposed to talk about it, figure it out, and get it right. And they did. Umpires are human, too. Does Pete Crow Armstrong do his job perfect every time he's out there? He's out there every day. Does he do it right every time? Does he never make mistakes? So I get they make mistakes. And trust me, folks, you guys that watch this program know me. I am not an umpire guy. I actually believe what Pete Crow Armstrong says here. There's no excuse with technology today and everything else for an umpire to miss a call. Period. Full stop. End of story. Their job is to make sure the calls are right. That's the most important thing for umpires, referees, or whatever you're doing out there. I agree with that 1,000% what Pete Crow Armstrong said. But at the same time, there's situations where I will not fault an umpire. For instance, on the pitch, when you review a pitch, if an umpire calls a strike and the ball is 0.1 inches out of the strike zone when they review it, the batter goes bloop bloop, and they review it, and the ball is a millimeter off of that box, I'm not faulting that umpire for calling it a strike if it's that close. And vice versa, if he calls it a ball and it's 1 milli-inch, one slice of paper in the strike, I'm not faulting that umpire for missing that call. It's that close. I'm not going to fault it. Just not. And I'm not going to fault him for this balk call. It happened fast. A lot of things were happening. I would actually argue if Pete Crow Armstrong wasn't making a move for home, probably would have been more relevant to be seen there by the third base umpire. Him going down there probably pulled the eyeballs away from that umpire, away from the mound to watch that position. It's thinking, I got to get into spot here. I'm not going to fault umpires. In that scenario, weird situation, a lot happening on the field, quick, easy movement that you don't generally see in baseball. I understand how they missed it. Now you want to go a step farther here. They went to the pool report here. Crew chief Alfonso Marquez came out and with that pool report, and he actually acknowledged the umpires missed the balk call. Yeah. They give the umpires credits. They went and did the pool report, and they said, we missed the call. I think that's fantastic. Umpires don't do that, folks. Right? They double down. They talk about how they make excuses on what they saw and what the rule is and what all of this stuff and everything. The exact quote is, quote, we just didn't see it. After looking at the video postgame, it looked like he stepped off, unquote. So we got a situation where it happened quick, lots of things happening, eyeballs moved around, whatever. I'm not saying they're right for missing this call, by the way. They missed a call that was very important. Hear that part of what I'm saying, folks. They missed a call that they should have gotten right. But I understand why they missed it. Then you're telling me that the umpires went to the pool report afterwards and didn't double down and didn't make up some blovious thing about how they're right and they don't miss anything and they're perfect? These umpires went into that and said, no, we missed it. It looked like he stepped off. We missed it. I'm just not going to dog this umpiring crew for that call. I'm just not. I understand PCA. I don't understand PCA losing his mind like that. But I understand why the Cubs were mad. I understand why they didn't throw him out, probably. And I understand the umpires missing it. And I can really appreciate, as much as I dog umpires for doing what they do out there and missing stuff and acting all badass after the game on, we got the call, and when they obviously didn't get the call right, this umpiring crew, the crew chief, went in front of the pool report and said, we just missed it. It looked like he stepped off. Folks, mark this down. It is Thursday, August 27th, the year 2026. Mark it down. I'm telling you why the umpires missed the call, and I'm praising umpires and what they said after the game. Mark it down. It's Thursday, August 27th, 2026. Never happened before. Probably will never happen again. I'm not going to get upset about it. Even if it was the Diamondbacks that were affected and they ultimately lost the game, I'd be in here with the same scenario today. I'm not a Cubs fan, but I was in Chicago when they were in that World Series year. I was around all that hype. Grew up watching a lot of Cubs games with WGN, when I didn't have to go to school, or I got my senior year, I took like 3 classes, so I was home a lot, watching WGN and Cubs baseball. Mark Grace and Ryan Sandberg, Sean Dunn. I loved those teams as a kid, right? And stuff like that. I have a soft spot in my heart for Cubs. Now, their fans are another story. A lot of their fans are another story. But I have a soft spot in my heart for the Cubs. I still watch a lot of Cubs games today. If it was the opposite with the Diamondbacks, I'd be saying the same stuff to you today. Call me crazy if you want to. Call me weird if you want to. Say I don't know what I'm talking about and I'm a moron. Fine. Just the case. Robert said Robert says, and the reason I am 180 degrees away from you. I'm not faulting you. I mean, I get it. If you have a different opinion, I'm not arguing with you. If you have a different opinion, I understand your opinion as well. It's such a weird thing. Baseball's such a weird sport sometimes. Ann says the difference is PCA has to talk to the media and the umpires don't. They didn't have to talk to the media at his locker. He didn't. The locker room stuff is kind of, needed to be and stuff like that. And everything. But Ann does say, good on the crew for taking responsibility. Yeah, I mean, it's something you don't see very often. They missed the call, period, end of story. They missed it. They need to get that call right. Can you imagine if this was a playoff game and that happened? World Series Game 7 and that happened? Oh, my God, the world would end. Rightfully so, the world would end. But, oh, my God, the amount of people on social media that became Bach know-it-alls. When I'm telling you guys, even umpires don't necessarily understand the Bach rule. Major League Baseball doesn't necessarily understand the Bach rule. 100%, you can't step off the rubber like you did. It happened fast, a lot of things happening on the field. It was fascinating to watch. One of the reasons, by the way, I love baseball. I hate the unwritten rules side of baseball, but things like this, where we all saw it, we all saw the replay, we all had time to digest it, and we all can determine that it was a bad call. And then we're still arguing about it. That's so great. When we come back here on the main event, we'll keep it rolling. I'll get you updated on some NFL stuff coming up your way. Little college football, just a couple of quick updates. We'll get more into the banning of the professional players tomorrow. Because we got Uncle Lou coming up at 9 o'clock, folks. Come and join us at 9 o'clock as well. But NFL talk when we come back, the main event. And we're back here. Main event. We got Uncle Lou coming up, top of the hour here, 9 o'clock for the second hour of the show to talk NFL and getting you ready for the season as the preseason wraps up this weekend. And then, of course, UFC coming up this weekend. Last weekend was at Sacramento. This weekend, by the way, overseas. Trying to remember where it is. I'm trying to also stall to pull it up here as well. I want to say China, but don't quote me on that. But it is, let's see here. Magomedov and Song is from, it is China. It is China this weekend. Yeah. 3 a.m. Mountain time for the undercard on this fight. So a morning fight card coming up on Sunday as well from China as well here. And then after that, next week they go to Paris, France. That'd be a noon kickoff time, opening football weekend there as well for that one. And then after that is the September 12th fight over here in Glendale. 2 p.m. our time is when that main card starts for that as well. So we got some day fights coming up here for you out there. We'll talk about all of that with Uncle Lou coming up. But while we're getting ready for him to come in, let's go back and let's look at some NFL stuff. And Cardinals are in joint practices with Green Bay right now. Or well, at least yesterday, getting ready for their big preseason game tomorrow night. I'm trying to overhype it, folks. I'm trying to overhype it a little bit. This is a preseason game that definitely nobody cares about. If you're playing in this game, got to be a little worried. Like I say, BJ Ojulari, I'm not going to be surprised if he gets cut. I was reading yesterday from several entities that BJ Ojulari is probably going to make this roster. It's just the question marks on that stuff of it. So who's playing, who's not is kind of who you're going to pay attention to in this game. But before we get into the practice yesterday, Green Bay has, if you don't know this, I got to let you know about this because even when I was a kid and I knew they did this and, you see it, I think it's the best thing going in the NFL circles. Especially nowadays in 2026, because we know how leadership, we know how these NFL owners are treating their fans. We know how they're treating their players. We know how they're treating their staffs and their people that work for them, specifically here in Arizona with lawsuits galore out there and stuff to that effect. And Green Bay does something, and it's been a tradition for a lot of years out there, and it's just absolutely fantastic. If you don't know what it is, kids show up to the Green Bay facility. The locker room is far away from the practice field, etc. So kids show up with their BMXs and bikes like that, and Green Bay players get on the bikes and ride to the practice facility on these kids' bikes. Sometimes the kids, right, if they have it set up, they can ride with them. They get on the spokes, thing to that effect. Well, Green Bay put the call out to the kids of Green Bay yesterday for that joint practice. They said, bring your bikes for the Cardinals players as well. Jeremiah, I don't have that video, but I saw Jeremiah Love. The kids were losing their mind when he was coming out to ride that bike over to the practice field. Of course, Trey McBride also got in on it as well, and that's what I got here for you. Here's the Green Bay tradition. If you haven't seen it before, I think this is fantastic. And in an era of NFL owners treating players, fans, etc., like garbage, this is even more fantastic. Green Bay traditions here.
Incoming on your left. On your left.
Oh my! Where are you from?
I remember years ago, it was when Brett Favre was playing for Green Bay. I remember somebody being like, what if a player gets hurt? And they were talking about getting rid of that tradition because of the potential a player gets hurt riding the bike. It's a sizable difference between the facility and the locker room and stuff to that effect. I think it's fantastic. The Cardinals players were all smiling and enjoying it, at least the ones I saw. I don't know if there was anybody grumpy or anything, at least from what I saw on that side. So I got to give kudos to Green Bay. Over the weekend, I was watching, I think it was a Houston, Texas fan, was on Twitter talking about how they've spent all this money for their tickets. Kind of like what my story is with the Cardinals. They just been taking benefits away every year, less and less benefits, and things to that effect. I saw I think it was a Houston Texans fans complaining they took benefits away from them this year. and even though pricing's the same or pricing's going up, less benefits and stuff to that effect. So to see an organization still value the tradition and getting your young fans and your fan base energized into your team and inviting your fan base to do it with the Cardinals as well, I think it's fantastic. And we got to give Green Bay a ton of props for continuing to do that stuff up there in that organization out there as well. So Ann says, I was worried these players were going to break a bike. She said McBride specifically. Yeah, I do remember one time, I was young, so I was probably 10, 11, 12 or something. I do remember, I always think Mark Chimura, but it might be because of Mark Chimura's history afterwards that I think it's him. But I do remember a wheel falling off a bike when a player was on it, and the player like toppling over and stuff like that. So I do remember that. I could be wrong on the player. I might just be thinking Chimura because of his after playing days issues that he had at the beginning. We'll just leave it out that as well. So Cardinals joint practice with Green Bay ensued afterwards, and this was an interesting practice. Obviously, I wasn't there. I'm here in Phoenix. I saw a lot of players commenting. It was like 75. Weather wasn't that bad. It wasn't that humid yesterday in Green Bay, and I saw a lot of the Cardinals players. Maybe it was 85, but it was something like that. A lot of players just soaking in the cooler weather there on top of it. It was amazing to see. So before this practice happened, Mike LaFleur talked about a lot of things leading into this joint practice yesterday. And it was basically, he said, let's see how we respond to some challenges and some adversity. Cardinals at the beginning of this practice were getting destroyed by Green Bay, all facets of it. And something flipped during the practice. And then the Cardinals started destroying the Green Bay Packers offensively and defensively. There were some scrums that happened out there. Michael Wilson, talking about the Green Bay player that he kind of mixed it up with. He said, look, I'll just put it this way. I don't like him, and I don't think he likes me. They're mixing it up a little bit in that stuff. I think this was as successful a joint practice for the Cardinals as you could possibly see, because it wasn't a game necessarily, where you have, your starters aren't playing or playing only quarter or something to that effect and things like that. So Cardinals sucked at the beginning, turned around and looked good at the end. That's fantastic to watch out there as well. Marvin Harrison Jr., if you're not, now again, it's training camp, and I told you this was going to happen before training camp started. Marvin Harrison Jr. had some drops early in camp, but he's starting to catch some balls in camp that he traditionally doesn't catch in games. Does that mean that it's going to translate to games? No. But you're starting to see that type of. He had a nice toe tap touchdown yesterday, thrown to him as well. But again, preseason, I'm not going to get excited about Marvin Harrison Jr. making these plays until the regular season, and we see it in a regular season game. But there is reason to be optimistic this year with Marv catching these types of balls and stuff like that effect. There is. There's just reason to do that as well. Offensive line. Now, Jacoby Brissett, beginning of this, gets sacked like 3 times. Now, they didn't take him to the ground, right? It's practice. But he was 5 of 12 to begin, the 3 sacks. He even threw an interception early in this game, in this practice as well. It was just a monumentally bad start, kind of the way that everybody thinks the Cardinals are going to play all season. Like I said, second half, everybody woke up. Offensive line woke up. Only 1 sack in the second half of practice. Receivers started waking up as well. Downfield throws, which is something we're not used to seeing here in Arizona. Downfield to Marv, Trey McBride, downfield to Michael Wilson. Completion passes and stuff like that. It's just this offense. I got to be careful on how I phrase this for expectation levels. This offense is going to be explosive, and they're going to take chances downfield. Let's put it that way. Whether they're successful at it or completions, and they're able to go down and score lots of points is the question of the day. But it's not going to be from a lack of trying, as opposed to previous years around here as well. But also, isn't it saying something that Jonathan Gannon, the statue as we name him here on the program, Isn't it something that his defense started off really good in the first half of practice and then struggled in the second half of practice yesterday? Just want to point that out. The statue, yeah, out there again. The other thing I'm starting to see on the offense that is going to be interesting to see in the regular season is the running game is going to be relied on a lot. But in terms of the receivers, I think their number one receiver is going to be Trey McBride this year. I think he's going to be the focal point in the passing game. Have you seen this? Tight ends usually are for intermediate passes, 5-10 yards down the field. Maybe that go route up the middle, the seam route where you run up the middle and then you cut it outside. That's usually like the longest pass to a tight end in this league. Cardinals have ran a few plays in this preseason with McBride 20 yards downfield, 15, 20 yards downfield. Trey McBride, I think, is going to be the focal receiver on this team this year. If he becomes that across the middle, for instance, or on the outside, that's going to open up Wilson and Marvin Harrison Jr. on the outside to receive some passes in single coverage because you're going to be double covering, and safeties are going to be going towards Trey McBride out there. Interesting development because that's usually not what tight ends are used like in the NFL. Something to keep an eye on as we move forward here as the regular season comes up as well. So just some interesting takeouts here with this joint practice yesterday. I do like for Cardinals as well, especially yesterday from what I was watching and the video clips I saw and I was reading about, a lot of people talking about the youth on this team and the way they're playing. And I agree with this. They have depth, right? The wide receiver, whoever gets cut from the wide receiver core has had a good camp. Probably deserved to make the team. Running back, same situation with Kiner, right? You got Bam Knight's probably going to make the team. But then you got Kiner, right? Making some moves and doing that stuff for that running back side of it. I like the youth of this team, and they have the depth on that youth side, at least here through preseason, obviously, training camp, obviously. Things can change, of course, as the regular season comes up. So joint practice leading up to the game tomorrow night. Be interesting to see, final preseason game. You're not going to see a lot of starters playing. You might see everybody that didn't play last week, I expect to be out this week again. I said all along I thought Carson Beck could start this game and play like the whole first half into the third quarter. I'm not so sure with his rib injury. They're just going to kind of keep him on the side. And as I said earlier in the show, we're starting to see more people come along to what I said on Saturday night watching Gardner Minshew play. I don't hate Gardner Minshew. I think he's good for what he is. The problem is you have a Jacoby Brissett and a Gardner Minshew are the same quarterback. And if you don't have any other quarterbacks, you can have those two guys in the quarterback side. But then when Carson Beck, I have high expectations for him. I want to see what he does. You got to get rid of one of those guys. And you're starting to see more people talk about Gardner Minshew not being part of this team, whether trade. Some people said release. I wouldn't release him. I would trade him more than anything and stuff to that effect. So that way it's Jacoby Brissett, Beck, and then Slovis as your three. I've been saying this since last Saturday night. Not a knock on Minshew. It's just, why are you going to go, if Jacoby Brissett's not getting the job done, why are you going to go to Gardner Minshew when he's the same type of quarterback as Brissett? It's not going to be any improvement. You're going to go over to Beck at that point and give him an opportunity to show what he can do. Because if Brissett's not playing well, folks, you're not winning and you're not going anywhere. So why mix it up from that side as well out there? Ethan, turn on Uncle Lou's microphone. See if he's going to yell at me here, folks. Going into it. Lou, pull that microphone close to you. You raise your hand. I'm going to give you an opportunity.
Kid may need more time. If it's good to learn for a young quarterback, look what Brady's doing in Oakland. If it's good for a young quarterback to learn from a veteran, why would it be bad for a young quarterback to learn from two veteran quarterbacks? And I really wanted to take exception with Gardner Minshew, the same as Jacoby Brissett. But you know what?
They are.
They are. You know what they are? You know what they are? Veterans that know to not turn the ball over. Okay, so I hope they don't get rid of Minshew. If they do, I get it. But you throw a kid to the fire too soon. Ask the car boy what happened. Ask the kid in Carolina what's happening. Maybe even the kid in Houston. We'll see. If you see really successful, look at Mahomes behind Alex Smith.
Mm-hmm.
It to me, it makes a tremendous amount of sense because the position requires this.
Yeah.
And I don't believe many rookies can really incorporate that. So thanks for letting me.
Yeah, no worries. But here's the other side of that, because it's funny. I left this for Lou to be here when I talked about this because I had a feeling he was going to go on the other side. Here's my other side of it. You got to find out if you have a quarterback to build around or if you have a quarterback where you need to draft one next year. You need that question answered. Which I hate to say this, it makes Carson Beck expendable this season.
Well, no, I totally. That's a very.
It means you throw him out there and see if he's able to grow.
No, not week 5.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm assuming Brissett can make it 6, 7, 8 weeks into
12,
the season,
14,
something like that, before you go to Beck. But also, I'm of the opinion, and I hate to say it this way, but Carson Beck's expendable to me this year. Throw him out there. Can he grow? Can he handle the beat up of an NFL quarterback and things of that to where you can build around him? Can he do it or not? That's what you got to find out, and that's why I'm that angle. Going from Brissett to Minshew, you're just spinning a wheel and going nowhere. That's all I'm saying. Because if you have to make that move, it means you're going nowhere anyway.
Well, no, it means Brissett got hurt. To me, is what it means. I think Brissett's going to be okay. I think that offense is going to be okay, and not the. Absolutely. When people see the Cardinals, they see a team that's really poor defensively, but they're not giving the offense any credit, and it really it deserves a merit of credit. I like the new. I'm usually against new coaches in a situation like this. I think I like this kid, and I see sparks there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I love LaFleur as a head coach. I'm not saying he's going to come in here and take him to the Super Bowl and be here for the next 20 years. It's hard to win in the Cardinals organization, and it's hard to win long-term in the Cardinals organization. But I think we're seeing the start of a kid that's going to have a successful head coaching career. If it's not with Arizona, it's going to be someplace else. I like him that much.
I think it translates into offense immediately. I've seen sparks of it in the preseason, and the defense has to come quick. And hopefully they're hiding a few things from us.
Right? Yeah, exactly. They're holding it back.
But don't be afraid when the Cards are 0-5 or 1-5, okay? Because you have to look at the schedule,
who they're
not
playing.
The first 5 games.
Yeah, who they're playing and all of that fun stuff. Really quick, couple things around the NFL, and then we'll get to take our break and get to Uncle Lou. No, you're good. The NFL is, and I wonder on this, Lou, keep this in mind for the next segment here. The NFL's announced some big changes here where greater emphasis on health and safety rule violations. The NFL announced hip drop tackles, horse collar tackles, launching, hit on a defenseless player, and blindside blocks now. If a player commits 3 offenses in any of these categories during a season, they'll be suspended for 1 game. So the NFL implemented that yesterday. I'm just curious on just the outlook of the season with that rule change. Is there a concern about this? We'll talk to Lou about that. And then also, finally, the Pro Bowl's gone. I'm so excited about this. Mainly because I'm tired of players not wanting to play in it, Lou. Like Shedeur Sanders being a Pro Bowl quarterback last year should have told you it was time for this thing to die. Because it got so far down the list of players that couldn't play in this game.
That wouldn't.
They had to go to Shedeur Sanders.
It isn't that they couldn't.
There.
Many of them wouldn't.
That's what I mean. They wouldn't play in it. So thank God. Just get rid of it. I know the ratings were decent for it.
Well, they're still going to announce a team.
They are.
They're going to give them their, they're going to blow the smoke up there.
Yeah, and they'll have a big get together, and it'll be televised, and everybody will watch it.
Fluffing each other with pepper.
But we're not going to have to endure. And it's. I know I'm making fun of Shedeur Sanders for this, but he's the player that epitomized the ridiculousness of the Pro Bowl. When you get down to that level of a guy to get in there because of that, thank God it's gone. Thank you, Lord, that is gone. When we come back, Uncle Lou's coming up next, folks. Come and join us. And we're back here. Uncle Lou joins us on Thursdays here on the program, 9 o'clock. Of course, you guys know him from Gamblu.com to get situated over there. I told him right before we came back, I said, lower your chair just a hit
desk like this. I'm sorry.
Oh, good. But, the camera's set up a little bit that we get to see all your papers that you bring in here, Lou, on a Thursday.
I do use a computer for my lines and stuff, but I am old-fashioned dude, and I use papers and I use colored pens.
Yeah, we usually don't.
Old dude.
We usually don't show off you show your individual papers, but we don't show the thickness that you bring in usually. So there it is.
NFL schedules in here. I have my team by team. If I would say this, my briefcase is here. If somebody took that, I'd just go jump off a bridge. I'd be out of literally. I couldn't live.
Lou, first of all, Thursday, Gamblu.com, VEASAN, of course, contributor as well. First of all, how you doing? Tell everybody where they can find you, all of that good stuff, because we have a fight over in Shanghai, China this weekend on the UFC side. So for everybody that joins us from that neck of the woods.
Oh, yeah. For any new international viewers, thank you. And for any regular viewers, no matter where the heck you are, thank you. I am Lou Finicaro. I have a webpage called Gamblu.com. I am simply a man that tries to derive profit from select sporting events. Those sporting events are listed on the top row of the Gamblu webpage. And while I'm eager to highlight the sports I work and what I do, any interested party can do that on their own. Where I'd like to direct you is to the far right, the San Xavier Mission, which is the oldest mission in the United States. It's located in Arizona, south of Tucson, just about 15 minutes. And they're doing some really good work there. And I've been a big proponent of them since college. We try and direct contributions to them whenever we can, and we encourage others to consider doing the same thing. Winning gamblers got to give a little back, and this is a great place. There's a link right down there that Ethan's showing right now that you could go directly to the mission itself. You don't have to go through Uncle Louie or any of that kind of riffraff. It's all about them, and Steve allows me to mention that every week when I come on this show, so I'm more than happy to share my other insights because of the great respect he allows me to pay to the mission.
Absolutely. And like I said, in this day and age and what you do, it's a seedy business you're in, that it's becoming more mainstream and more mainstream every time, but it can be seedy, and it's nice to see that there's some benefits to the backside out there. So I like that you highlight that and you do that type of stuff out there as well, Lou. And don't forget, Sneak Tea podcast for this week is up.
Mention those.
Yeah, you got to do that.
I never do. I'm not. I mean, listen, I do 2 podcasts. It's totally about gambling and the UFC. Yeah. The 250 or 280 people that tune into my podcast every week, and they're from all the places I think that we get listeners from here. First of all, thank you, but they're gambling on UFC events. Now, if you're good at that, I would think you would find my free advice worthy of consideration. If not, no big deal. For those that want it, it's there. And I never mention it because the mission's more important than the podcast.
Yeah, and on this program, we're not like VEASAN that you're on VEASAN and it's just gamble, stuff like that. And here we have a little bit more fun. I like the insight, the background on the fighters, and more of the business side type of thing. But I do find your Sneak Tea especially insightful with the way you talk with your hidden stuff and just watching how the lines can move and stuff like that. And it's quick and easy.
It's rough. If you're looking for Anik and Florian podcast, that's professionally done and polished, and
it's not as bad as you make it sound.
I'm telling you, you're like walking in the back of an Italian butcher, and so it's rough and tumble, but it's gambling and it's UFC. So
yeah. And then about business. Now the fight's in China, which probably means
that the weigh-ins are Thursday
tonight.
Yeah.
Tonight sometime, because it's a 3 a.m. main card coming up this weekend. We'll talk UFC coming up here, of course, as well. We'll look back at last weekend.
We'll talk some NFL too, because we don't have a lot of UFC to talk about.
Well, that's the problem this week with the China card, right? It's very regional,
especially for Phoenicians. Steve, it starts at midnight.
Yeah,
till 3 is the prelims. A bunch of nuts, and then from 3 to 6 or 7 is the main card. Well, chances are Uncle Louie going to bet one or two of these late, and when I take my dog, I'll come back and check results.
Exactly. So it's a type of deal, but we do got to talk last weekend. But first, right, NFL.
Yeah.
Last weekend of preseason is upon us here.
Yes,
we're
isn't
seeing
that great?
We're seeing signing. Yeah, and then there's roughly a 10-day break. I know it differs depending on your team and stuff to that effect, but we'll just call it for simplicity's sake a 10-day break before the regular season begins here as well. And, we talk to you all the time, Lou, about, preseason, you pay attention to the injuries. Like you've been all over the Chargers losing their center here for the season. I saw that on Twitter with you talking about that loss for them. We're seeing some additional signings here that guys already in camp, stuff to that effect here as well. So, going into this weekend of football, are you waiting for these games to end and then you're just in regular season mode at that point? Because cuts are Sunday is what I'm getting at.
Mm-hmm.
And then are you in regular season mode at that point, or is there still a delay because of the time frame difference leading up to the first games of the season?
No, I became involved in regular season mode a week or two ago when I tracked the first set of lines. You can't see that. I tracked them when they came out in April, and then I tracked them again August 1, right before camps open. I want to know what the number opened at when Aesop was putting out numbers and knuckleballs were betting the NFL in April. I want to know what those numbers were, and then I check them with what they were right before the preseason starts. And now I'll check them again once week 3 is over and see how that all looks compared to the notes that I have on each team, what I've seen myself, which really I think helps a lot. I just haven't watched the hours that I normally have, but I've seen quite a bit, and seeing helps. I think it has to be part of my handicapping anyway. So I'm real ready. I think I have pretty much the teams that I'm positive on diagnosed, and a week from now I was going to go to Vegas and make all those positions. I'm still going to do that in a week, but I'm going to have to do it in other capacities.
Change it around a little bit
because I'm traveling.
Yeah.
I have another trip that came up. So, but right now I'm ready to go. I have strong general thoughts on many teams. I've already bet and told people about Seattle under 10.5. I'm high on Baltimore under the 11.5, and I'm also high on Kansas City under the 10.5. Those three, I would say, are the Rock of Gibraltar 3 unders that I have so far this year. Those are the ones that I have publicized and shared with anyone that would put a microphone in front of my face. So I'm consistent. Those are the ones we'll live with. And in a week, when I come on Thursday, then we will have had the first game the night before. So at that point in time, and you're still able.
That'll be in 2 weeks. The season starts on the 9th. So next week there'll be no games, and then the week after.
Oh, that's
Just so
right.
you know,
It's
yeah.
after the Labor Day weekend.
Yes, a little bit later this year.
So
9th, 10th,
so
and
I
then
won't
the 11th.
have the over next.
Yeah.
I may give it out before I actually even or when I play it, or just after I do, because by then there won't be anything happening between Thursday and Wednesday when they drop the puck on the first game of the season.
Except for college football, which a lot of people will be dumping money into. And
how do you bet that?
This weekend you got North Carolina and TCU over in Dublin.
I don't care what you got and where. I don't know how you handicap the musical chairs they've been playing, and I think college handicappers have that frustration as well. I've talked to a few guys that work just college, and they're like, they can't find time for anything else.
Yeah, you're absolutely right for the musical side. Quick question, and I'm not expecting you to answer this in terms of, because I don't think it's going to affect your overall view, but a good defensive player, for instance, gets close to this level. Suspensions of games coming up and stuff like that. I talked about at the end of that hour there. Beginning this season, the NFL came out and they're going to place greater emphasis on 5 player health and safety rules violations. Hip drop tackles, which injuries happen for that a lot over the last several years. Horse collar tackles, launching, hit on a defensive player, and blindside block hits there. if you commit 3 offenses in any of these categories during a season, automatic suspension for 1 game moving forward. If you commit 1 violation, 50%. And then at the end of the season, they get fined back and stuff like that. Let's just phrase it that way. But, a player's got 2 of these penalties against him, later in the season. And things like that are going up into a big matchup. Is that going to change any of your handicapping that he could end up being suspended for a game or he does get suspended for a game? Is that enough for a defensive player to affect handicapping at any point during the season that you foresee?
To be alarmed at this after a player has 2 infractions and when he has his 3rd is 2 months too late. One must understand where this is all going. And this is simply litigation. Mm-hmm. This is the NFL saying, hey, look, right before the 2026 season, we handed out this set of rules as here's how we are trying to discourage injuries in our game. They are a meat grinder, the NFL. They care not for the players. However, they care about money, and so their attorneys and the attorneys for the players who are suing them because they can't talk or eat soup when they're 50 are in court battles. This is all about litigation, and the NFL evolution. Does it affect my betting? Kinda, but it does both ways because it's blind in how terrible it is. It happens to both sides at any time. Mm-hmm. So it's like the coin flip. You live with it. But make no mistake about it, there's a reason the NFL is investing millions in flag football. There's a reason flag football's in the Olympics. There's a reason all these kids in high school playing 7-on-7. Eventually, that's what it's going to be. I'm just telling you, the NFL, like I knew it, is not here anymore. And my days of handicapping it are really numbered. Couple years, because I can see what's happening. Do I want to rant and rave and criticize it? No, because it's impending. The attorneys are going to run it, and so I'm just going to realize and try and get out ahead.
Yeah, and interesting enough that you say it that way because there are also coaches, are going to be fined or at least have to go to meetings if it's excessive, but they're also going to start finding excessive if there are excessive violations in these categories with NFL teams. So you could have, let's say, 12 players following these infractions. They deem it excessive. They're going after the teams now for excessive fines. Obviously trying to squash these plays and stuff to that effect.
It's more proof that they got, hey, I did everything I could to prevent this. What do you want? Me as an owner, I'm 82. I can't go out there and stop them. I did everything I could. This is all a bunch of whack job bullshit.
Yeah, yeah. Whoa, Lou, come on, man. No, just kidding.
I'm sorry. It's just
no,
big
you're
money.
Right.
It's all big money.
Yeah. Yeah, and then that's the whole point of it. That's what tells you that. It's because it's levied on fines.
Now you're getting me all fired up.
And
Steve
stuff
knows
like
how to
that.
poke the stick at the lion.
I saw it last night, and I was like, bringing that up with Lou tomorrow. Bringing that up with him. The other side of it is you're giving. That also tells me that refs are being told those are more of an emphasis than normal going into the season, which means you're going to have flags that are going to affect games, particularly later in games, because they're being told to flag those probably going into it. So late in the game, a guy goes questionable hit. They're going to throw that flag more times than not. 15-yard penalty, ejections, whatever's going to happen.
He said you're going to have flags affect games. No, you're going to have more flags affect games.
Well, okay.
Because there already are flags that affect games. Now you're going to have more. I just want you. This is how I see it converted into what it means to monetary evaluation. I'm just trying to monetize what can happen here. And the good news is it's so random and whack that it's another thing we're going to have to learn to live with.
Yeah,
you're going to bet this. That's all I'm saying.
That's what I'm
the
getting
good news is we can choose not to.
Well, that is issue number 2 if you're not sure,
close.
right?
I'm getting close.
Yeah. It's fascinating because I know from my perspective, I just sit back and go, this isn't going to end well, at least early in the season.
When they overreact.
Yeah, I can see a flag coming in and a team loses because of it. And then you're going to see the replay and say it's not bad, but they threw the flag anyway. We see it with quarterback sacks. If if you lay a quarterback down, it's not a penalty. If if you twirl him a little too much, it's a penalty. And late in the game, you end up losing because of a penalty on that type of thing, and it's questionable. I could just see that happening, especially early in the season, till they kind of adjust it and make it get it to fit kind of right. And then that's what you got to worry about early in the season with this type of
the
stuff.
NFL will tell the refs to overreact, and if it's even close, call it.
Absolutely.
And it's like the kid's getting scorched on the stove. After a couple of touches, he trusts that it's hot, so he ain't going to go up there and touch it no more. And that's what. And then after that, in a lot of instances, the NFL will back off then after 2 or 3 weeks of calling it heavy. Then you never hear about it the rest of the season. I don't think this is one of those, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to take a look at it from that side. Hey, since we talked last time, we've talked about a lot of teams this year and just kind of like an overview of their problems or not problems out there that they're looking at, and we've talked about this team a lot. I have to ask you, Deshaun Watson was named the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns this week. I'm trying to load it up right now. I want to see. They were 5.5 games, at least last week they were, going into this season, for the over-under on the game. Does Deshaun Watson change quarterback position there, change your opinion on the Browns at all on what they're going to do this year? Or is it just the quarterback
offensive
position
line
at all?
rank? The Browns used to have the best offensive line in football. Offensive line ranked 32. Money spent investing in the offensive line, 29th in the NFL. Now their front seven on D is potent, number 6. And their defense is very, very good. Offensive line improvement coupled with any kind of semblance of ration in the quarterback room, and I think the team would be decent. But they're so weak at quarterback, and then you look at no matter who it is playing in front of a line that isn't apt, and that's just asking an awful lot. Cleveland quarterback ranked 31, offensive line 32, running backs 26, wide receiver 30, front 7 6, secondary 10th. Okay, so they've got a defense, but with that kind of offensive rundown, you have no talent on that team. And so I think Cleveland and Miami deserve, even though they're going to come out fighting, I think they deserve to be mentioned as the teams that will struggle the most, and not who everyone else is believing it is, and that's Arizona.
Yeah, it is fast. I'm seeing more and more people that are kind of leaning toward that talk as well, especially after Deshaun Watson was named the starting quarterback, which kind of surprised me a little bit.
Well, did you think Sanders would be?
No, but I think there's a fraction, a correlation of people, Sanders fans out there is what we'll call them, that we're pushing for that. I think.
Wait, they wanted Minshew.
Yeah, they could trade for him.
Minshew should be a step up over there.
Well, that's
I'm
the
not
argument.
afraid of Minshew at all.
To me, the problem, and either am I. I would have no problem with Minshew starting a game for the Cardinals.
He's won everywhere he went.
I don't want him to start 16 games for me. I don't know. Same thing with Brissett, but if you can get him for 4 or 5 games. But I don't think, for me with Cleveland, whether it's Sanders or whether it's Deshaun Watson, it doesn't matter.
They're going to be running for their life back there.
It's one of two.
Oh, it's
one of two back there. The difference is I don't think Shedeur Sanders will quit on the team, and I think Deshaun Watson will quit on the team if he gets too much abuse and things to that effect.
Not on the team, on the fan.
And it's just his mentality. So that would be the only difference. Other than that, it doesn't really matter to me. I know you've talked about this team a lot, and I just wanted to – it was a few weeks ago we talked about them. Go AFC West here with the Denver Broncos. I'm seeing more and more people, and Lou loves it when I set him up like this because the masses. I'm seeing more and more people saying the Broncos are going to miss the playoffs this year. So I just wanted you to rehash kind of old school ringtone there.
That's the hotline. That's actually the War Department. I usually answer those calls.
Uh-oh, that means something hot's happening.
Who knows?
The Denver Broncos, I just wanted you to just let everybody know again kind of your stance on the Broncos in that division. I know we talked about it, I think it was a couple weeks ago there, but I am seeing a lot of more people saying they're going to be outside these playoffs coming up.
Well, first of all, if you want to make my day, tell me that.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up to you. I'm shocked because the Broncos defense alone, I think, gets them into the playoffs, in my opinion. Forget about anything on the offensive side.
Offensive line rank 1, offensive money spent offensive line ranked in the NFL? 2. Well, now wait a minute now. We just talked about teams and how I value offensive lines and that they didn't have any. Am I going to tell you now that I doubt a team that's got the toughest offensive line that was in the playoffs last year? They lost because their quarterback got hurt, who's returning. Their starting running back in Dobbins got dinged up, but you know what? They brought in a rookie named Coleman, and they also have this other running back, Harvey, that got some juice. I think this is a team I love, and they're totally getting undervalued. And the fact that Kansas City's 10.5 and Denver's 9.5, I'll say it right now, that's wrong. Those need to be the other way around. So am I running to bet Denver over 9.5 wins? Not today, I'm not. In a week, I may have already. But I do like Denver, and there's other ways to bet them instead of just totals. You can bet them to win the division because they're third ranked behind the Chargers and Kansas City. Kansas City, I totally believe, is a myth based on offensive line, a quarterback coming off a knee who was regressing last year already. So I'm really bullish on Sean Payton. He loves the young quarterback. The young quarterback is a scrapper, and that defense is nasty. And I can't. I mean, let me just. They get +3 net rest, which is 8th best in the NFL. Couple that with an easy schedule and a lot of rest, already I'm buying in, okay? Last year, they were 11-2 in one-score games, so that's liable to regress. So people may be looking at that, no, okay, but 500 in one-score games ain't going to kill them. Health luck, they were 8th of 32 on defense, so they were the 3rd best on health. Trailed 7 games at halftime, and they were 5-2. To me, that's coaching, quarterback, and team maturity. I like everything I'm reading so far. Last year, 30th in penalties.
Meaning least amount of penalties,
yes,
right? Okay.
30th in penalties, yes, least amount of penalties. And they were 25th in fumble luck, meaning they lost more than they got. Again, perhaps regression. At the end of the day, I think the quarterback improves if he's had enough time, and they'll probably run heavy early and often anyway. But that's a 3-way. That isn't Kansas City, the Chargers, and Denver. That's Denver and then the Chargers and then Kansas City as I handicap. But with an improving, I want to say Oakland, Las Vegas Raiders that could throw a monkey wrench into one or two of those teams.
Well, I mean, for the Raiders' perspective, because I wanted to ask you on that. I mean, Ashton Gentry, their running back, went down this week.
Ankle.
It ended up being an ankle on that side. So obviously, it gives you a lot of relief from that from that perspective. I don't think we've heard how long he'll actually be out here and things like that. But how much does a running back affect handicapping? Like a quarterback is the biggest deal if you're without your starting quarterback. Does a running back affect the lines or how you view a game at all? Does it depend on their backup, things to that effect?
Almost everyone. Quarterbacks are the most effective to the line, center for me. After that, it depends who it is and how they're reliant. So if a running back goes down, isn't a big deal to me. Who's the backup? Well, they happen to have a rook that they like quite a bit.
They do.
But they don't want to have to rely on him. So Gentry only having an ankle is huge news. And if you looked at Gentry, when he came out of college, he was lightning fast, quick as lightning, evasive. You look at him now, he's a bowling ball because he's had to put on all the girth to be able to be durable for a full NFL season. You know what that costs him? It doesn't cost him time. He's getting paid for it. It costs him his explosiveness and his speed. And that will wane, and that's why a rookie, we see running backs, you see these young running backs, they just look faster. You know why? Because they are. And then they get dinged up, and they learn that in order to get through 17 games, they got to bulk up, and that's when they go the other way.
My next question, my final question on the NFL side is about, I'm using one team as an example here. I'm going to say Detroit Lions. What I'm going to say here is they got a new offensive coordinator. We happen to know him well here in Arizona, Drew Penzing and that. But we can go to Green Bay on this as well because Jonathan Gannon's the Green Bay defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers. My point on this question is one, as a caveat, I don't think highly of either of these gentlemen in their respective positions. With what they did here in Arizona, I don't think they're successful coaches. But being said here, watching the Detroit Lions preseason offense has been terrible. With an offense that has moved the ball, even last year with an offensive coordinator that struggled and got his duties taken away from him last year, that offense still looked good out there, and it's looked downright terrible this preseason. And then you can stretch it to Green Bay's defense not looking good in preseason as well. I guess my question here is, when you got new coordinators, I look at that at least when I'm looking at a team as a negative impact, kind of like Seattle losing their offensive coordinator this year. It's going to affect them negatively. And then when you see the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator struggle in preseason, does it add, or do you just have to wash it out and just go with what you know about the team and those guys?
Yeah, I really track coordinator changes, but in this case, and this is a rare thing to say, even though Petzing is the first year guy coming in, he might be better than Campbell, who was the head coach trying to do the job last year. So I value that last. Lions, easiest strength of schedule in the NFL. Lions +1 net rest. So, like, I'm worried about net rest and everything with the other teams. Maybe not so. Look at the luck they had last year. They had the 10th most difficult schedule last year. Now they got the easiest. They were 32nd in fumble luck, meaning they had nothing positive in fumbles. They were the worst in the league.
Meaning they turned it over.
Obtaining fumbles.
Okay, obtaining it.
Okay. They were the second most injured team. They were 30th in field goal luck, meaning they were the 30th most effective team out of 32. 30th net penalty. 3-5 one-score games. All of those are mentioned because those are liable to regress to either the mean or the other way. And so for all those reasons, you see a lot of people in love with Detroit thinking they're just going to roll. But you got a team in Minnesota that isn't going to lay down good defense, at least last year, and they haven't changed much this year. Mm-hmm. Then you got a Chicago team that's believing and went all the way to the NFC Championship game, and let's not forget Green Bay. So that I see that division like the NFC, like the AFC North, where all those teams are bunched together to me. I see Detroit, Chicago, and Minnesota here, maybe Green Bay a half a notch below, and maybe Minnesota and Green Bay toggle. I don't know. But I believe Chicago and Detroit will be there at the end. I have real questions about Chicago's defense, but that damn coach there, he's pretty good, and I have to.
Ben Johnson.
I'm going to watch him more before I jump in. Either way, I respect him, and it's just I'm putting him kind of on the same after 1 year, close to the same pedestal I put the kid in San Francisco on.
I agree with you on Ben Johnson. I oftentimes worry about the second year, right? He goes in there and has a good first season, and then it's like, all right, now what's the encore? Does everybody have an ego? Do you take your foot off the pedal? I don't think the head coach is.
Have you read anything about how that quarterback came back to camp?
I've heard mixed. He's a polarizing guy, so it's hard to get the proper information out.
Well, no, that's all over the newspapers. The guy came back early, came back ripped. He's the first one there, the last one to leave. I mean, I don't know if he and his coach are making out in the office, but they're sure spending lots of time together.
Yeah, and then when he gets out on the field, that's where you get the mixed side of it. But he's a polarizing guy, and it's hard to get training camp stuff. You see clips, and so you're not there, so you don't see all that stuff. So I'm looking forward to the regular season to come, and Bears are one I'm going to reserve on here for the first few weeks to see.
But you mentioned a good point, and that is, if at this point in time I acknowledge, and I want to come right out and say that all of this that I've tracked and everything doesn't mean I know anything about what's going on in the NFL. Steve was alluding to it. To think that any of us know what they're really thinking inside an NFL, a multi-billion now dollar organization, what they're thinking and how they're going to think that anyone on the outside of the doors knows anything outside of speculation is absolute hogwash. I know I don't know anything, okay? The opportunity for me is that there's a bunch of people out there that think they really know something. And so I'm going to sit back, and we got 10 days we're going to let them start betting these early games. And we're just going to find games that are off balance, because the off balance games mean that everybody's on one side and really not many are on the other side, and everybody is wrong. And I would build my foundation to my house on that statement in the NFL, or for that matter, anything. Or as Socrates says, if you want to be wrong, follow the masses. There it is right there. I'm a pure contrarian bettor. And week 1, I will do very little handicapping other than to say, okay, book, which one you most offsides on? Yeah. Oh, they're all betting team yellow, and I got nothing on green. Give me the green. Next, black or blue. Same thing. Yeah. That's how it is. That's how I do it.
I was thinking yesterday and the day before, I was thinking about this first game right down in Australia, the Rams and the Niners. And I was just sitting there thinking, kind of to your point you were just saying, and I'm like, I don't even know how to bet that game. 2 reasons why. One, first game of the year, division rivals, and then you're in Australia on top of it. So you have to travel down there, big distraction, and all that stuff.
10 days early.
And one's going the day before.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I'm sitting back going, that's going to be a game that everybody is going to want to bet because NFL football's back.
Yes.
And I'm just sitting there going, you have no idea. I have no idea what's going to happen in this game.
Well, at least you're honest, because neither do I. And I guarantee I put more hours chasing my tail studying this BS.
You have so far, yes, exactly. Yeah, and you always will, but I'm starting to delve into it now.
Doesn't mean I know anything.
Yeah, but I was just sitting there going, man, the amount of people that are just going to lay down big sums of money on this when there's just so many unknowns. Going in first week 1 is unknown anyway, but...
There'll be college football before those games, and so you've got games now, and so they're just gonna, they can't wait and
chasing the losses.
There's 18 weeks of games ahead of you. We don't have to blow our. It's like the guys who go to Vegas and say, "Yeah, we'll get a good night's sleep and we'll start our week." And the guys at 5 a.m, they're looking, where's he at? And he's broke and on a corner.
I had a friend that did. We drive to Vegas at 10 o'clock at night on a Friday. And before we even check into the hotel room, they're like, I'm out of money. And I'm like, we're here for 2 more days. What are you going to do?
The First National Bank of Steve.
It just used to always crack me up. Be like, all right, well, you have fun doing what you're doing. We're going to be out having some fun out there.
Eat hamburgers and gamble.
Lou, anything else on NFL as we're into the last preseason weekend at all?
I can't wait for week 1. When we get to week 1, I'll happily share thoughts and ideas as far as bets and such.
Absolutely.
Baltimore, Kansas City, and Seattle are unders. Those are bets I've given to my clients and made. Yep. And those are the only ones.
Yep, and you've talked about those here as well over the last
I just want to
last
make
several
sure
weeks
that
as
the
well.
People listening in now, they get, and I publicize them. I want to make sure that, I had a guy, somebody the other day was these Seattle guys came all over me because I was telling people I liked the under.
They're high on their Seattle Seahawks this year.
They were crazy anyway.
They're a team that I'm going to have to sit back and reserve on just because people are underestimating how valuable that offensive coordinator was for that team, who's now coaching down there in the Raiders land. And I'm not saying he was the secret sauce that made the quarterback successful.
It wasn't just that coordinator; it was the quarterback coach and the offensive.
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah,
game systems guy, which is a lot of coaches.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that they're going to fail. I'm just saying I don't know how you don't take a step, because those are big shoes to fill.
Well, then you add that your running back was traded, the MVP of the Super Bowl, and the second string running back's coming off an ACL, may not be ready week 1. Albeit they have a really sharp rookie coming in.
He looks good.
From Notre Dame. He's going to be good, let me tell you. They may forget about those other guys.
But that doesn't mean they're going to be bad. It just means that they're not going to, at least especially beginning of the season, they're not going to be as great.
Well, it may take time. We're going to have to see how that all works. And if it does take time, and if the offense does kaput or stutter or, get off to a slow start, then it puts more pressure on a really outstanding defense. And if you play too much defense, eventually you're going to get tired and defense going to wear down. So there's a bunch of questions for every team. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the first 3 weeks, because that's when we're going to actually be able to formulate opinions based on what these teams want to do and what they're going to try their hardest to do.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, and I'm looking forward. And don't forget, Seattle Seahawks come to Phoenix for week 2. Their first test of the year. Okay, I try to do it with a straight face. I tried it.
Hey, this is the NFL, baby. Anything can happen.
Well, that that is one thing. The Cardinals and Seahawks play each other
Their
fairly
division
close.
hatred there.
Yeah, they play each other pretty close, no matter how good one of the teams are compared to the other ones out there. So when we come back, let's get into it. UFC Talks. Come on back, folks, with Uncle Lou here on Thursday. And we're back here, main event on Thursday with Uncle Lou, as always, here on this Thursday, 9 a.m. Join us live on YouTube. We're here 8 to 10 a.m. Lou comes in at 9 for the hour as well. And Lou, this weekend we're in China, but I want to look back last weekend here really fast at last weekend's fights there from Sacramento, California as well. You had a good weekend overall, I do believe, if I took my notes properly here last weekend.
Yes, thank you. It was another very profitable week for us. Again, we seem to be seeing the ball real well right now. That doesn't mean it continues, but right now we seem to be seeing the ball pretty well.
Just a couple of fights I want to ask you about. That's all right. Chris Padilla in his fight there, round 3 submission for him. He's a local kid, correct?
No, Padilla's a local Cali kid.
Oh, Cali
fighting
kid.
in
That's
front
right.
of his hometown.
That's right. He was up there.
He
on that
submitted
side.
Hakparest, a tough guy, in the last second of the last round, left him quivering. It was a beautiful,
1 second left. Yeah.
beautiful fight. He was going to win the decision either way, but it was nice to have him in a tough fight at a good price. And what we did was we took him, I believe, and I spun him into, because of the low price, I spun him into Arman Sarukian, who's fighting Mauricio Hufi in 3 weeks or maybe a month.
Mm-hmm.
And now we got Sarukian at a plus price in that fight, or maybe a minus 110 kind of a situation. But we took a minus 400 guy and brought him down to about a pick.
Yeah, absolutely. And you did a lot of that this weekend with it. Like I think you even put out on X, you said they're going to give us money. We're going to take it.
Well, and that's what happened. That's right. That was the sneak teep, and we took 3 huge favorites. They all came in, and we took them into Fluffy in the main event. Now, in the Bout Business podcast on Friday, I could see that if we hit our early bets and we're sitting there with 3 or 4 units in our pocket, and we have 2 units on that Fluffy parlay, 2 units to win basically 3 units, I thought, okay, but I don't want to lose 2 from what I've already got in my pocket. So in a situation where that fight was pretty close, now RoboCop was plus 190. And I said it on the podcast. I may come back with RoboCop at plus 190, because then we would have Fluffy 2 units to win 3 units. And if Fluffy wins, we win the 3, but we lose 1. So now we only win 2. But if Fluffy gets his ass kicked and RoboCop wins, we have 2 units out there, and now we just win 190. Well, now we get our bet. We can bet a dime for 2 units. I said, keep an eye out for that, because if I decide to do that, it'll go out on Twitter, and it went out on Twitter, and some guys reacted to it. So you have to be involved in making money and being profitable. But if you do that, you'll get every message up front before the event happens, by the way, if you follow me on UFC.
Yeah, absolutely. That's true. We didn't plug that today. Gamblu, at Gamblu there on X as well, for you to see that. Before we talk about that main card, I just want to get your opinion on Anthony Wint. Obviously, huge favorite, and I think it ended up being 1,100 favorite going into this fight. Everything, round one, submission for him, 4:29 left. Kind of a, I'm going to say it's let up fight here, but he's going to get harder competition.
Yeah.
My question is he going to get harder competition? Because he looks dang good out there.
I think we'll see. I mean, they've given him 2 layups. They like him. You can tell when they like a guy. And if you just watch The Contender, there was a young black man, I forget his name, but he's a 170-pound powder keg. This dude's bad hombre, and he's gone right into the UFC. But unfortunately for him, it might take him a while to fight because I don't think anyone going to want to fight this kid. He's got great wrestling, strong hands, very aggressive, confident as he can be. I mean, Murphy or Murtry or some name like that. I was so impressed with. Anyway, the UFC is going to pay and encourage and incentivize fighters that sell out for violence. So if you're a cautious wrestler and you control your opponent, land a little ground and pound, you're going to get shoved aside and given tough fights because that's not what they want to see. But if you go out there, bite down on your mouthpiece, and you're nothing but a Tasmanian devil, and you knock people out, they're going to rise you to the highest tier in UFC pay, exposure, et cetera, et cetera. You see it with Hokett. You see it with this kid from Contender, and you saw it last week.
Yeah, I mean, he's a big dude. Like,
he's strong, he's violent, he's aggressive. That's
his muscles
exactly
have
what
muscles. His muscles have muscles.
But you're right. Now, that other kid came to fight.
No,
that
he
other
didn't.
kid threw and tried. And I
actually landed a couple punches that I was impressed with.
Yeah,
things like I just when I see a fighter like that, I go, because I'm familiar with a lot of the big heavyweight, and I'm like, all right, which heavyweight guy is going to be able to compete with this guy and want to take this fight in that type of a situation?
We'll see his wrestling. Yeah. A guy that can clasp him, get his back, trip him, get him down, get on top, and then we'll see what he's got.
Yeah, because it's just sometimes it's very not very often, but every once in a while these new fighters
the question you should have is how long will it be for the UFC to give him that kind of a wrestling or a jiu-jitsu guy?
Yeah, that's the question. Because I mean, it is spectacular watching him go in and do what he does. There's no doubt about it. The way it is now, but you also want to see him get challenged at some point.
Agree.
Out there as well. So main fight here as well. You had a Fluffy Hernandez and RoboCop, Gregory Rodriguez. Of course, Rodriguez gets the win here. Unanimous decision as the underdog here in this fight. I've always been high on RoboCop, win or lose. I just like the way he fights and his toughness out there. Does it change your opinion on Hernandez at all with the way this fight went?
No, the dude's a dog, man. Did you see the difference in size between the two guys? I mean, Fluffy's a little undersized for the division. He's always done it on cardio and volume, but he may have to rethink some things. RoboCop, meanwhile, served his time, gotten beat by guys, been schooled by Jared Cannonier because he let him fight himself out in 2 rounds. Cannonier took him to the 4th and finished him. RoboCop's learned all the lessons through some losses, and he's a tough hombre now that's going to compete at that 185-pound middleweight top tier, and he's there now.
Yeah, I mean, it was I enjoyed that fight a lot. More than I thought I would, to be honest with you. In that fight. They're both
tough as hell.
They're both good guys, and it's something where I've always paid attention to RoboCop's fight. I've seen the last couple Fluffies, but I'm going to be definitely next time I see them on a card, it's going to be much watched television. Well, it might be a while because
both guys reportedly suffered broken legs.
I would say beat up a little bit in this
each
one.
Other. I mean, think about that.
Yeah, is that confirmed? I saw that out there, but do they confirm injuries in the UFC, or is it more? I
said reportedly.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you. I'm very cautious about that. I'm not going to proclaim something that.
Yeah, I saw that, and then they never really, unless a fighter says it. I just sit back and and go to that. But this week, Lou, we got a China fight from China coming up this weekend. 2 a.m. our time is the main card, which, midnight or so would be the undercard. In this one, when you get to these regional fights here in China, they're trying to build up that market. And I don't know what's happening in this one, Lou. So prelims, anything to watch that you know of coming into this fight, Lou?
Oh, I'm trying to find it.
They have listed, just to warn you, they have, if you go to the UFC fight, they have the Road to UFC, which is on Friday night. They have that fight listed on there. So you got to pay attention to get to that.
I'm just going to go from my sheet.
Yep, Saturday fight.
So so the Saturday stuff. There's one pro fight, Flowers and Mahashate. Yeah. I'm not even tracking it. I'm not tracking Saturday.
That's the Friday night fights that are out there. Yeah.
The only reason I'm tracking the undercard to this fight card is because if there's something that's substantial and change, I will report it in the sneak teep. I would have reported it in the sneak teep, which was last week. How many of these 6 of the 11 fights are lined minus 250 for the favorite? So that means there's only 5 real fights for me to be able to get my teeth into. And I'm trying, if there's one undercard fight we could talk about, maybe oh my God. Steve's going to love me. It's Jingen.
Are you going to talk about it?
Yeah.
You're going to do it?
Yeah.
Oh,
the
Lordy.
women's fight. Because Pilastri's 10 years the younger fighter, even though she's shorter. And she's a favorite. The
250 favorite.
The Indonesian fighter, Jing Yan, lost to Angela Hill. That's not a huge embarrassment, but Angela Hill's 40. So I like Pilastri based on the youth here a little bit. And even though she's minus 250, if you take her via decision, you could get that price down a little bit. But again, because of the timing of these fights, I'm probably not going to invest. The Bout Business podcast will not release anything on the undercard, I can tell you right now. And the only thing I'm probably going to do on the main card is 1 or 2 fights. So I don't mean to skimp over it, but many of these fighters are debuters.
Yeah, a lot of debuters.
There's a lot of them that are, from the area. I mean, you got Tsutsura minus 650. He takes on a guy from Peru. So you have all kinds of mismatch kinds of.
The only one I see here, I mean, an Australian and a U.S. fighter here, featherweight bout that's almost fairly close to a pick-em.
Is
Jack
that an
Jenkins.
Undercard fight?
That's what they have it listed here. That's what I was wondering if it maybe moved up. Jack Jenkins and Sean Woodson.
That's actually a good fight, and that one you're right. I have Woodson minus 150. Is that what
155 right now for him? Yeah.
And what's the total in that? 3.5, 2.5?
2.5 minus 165 to the over.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a good competitive fight. Woodson's 7 inches taller. So Jenkins is short, squat, power guy, can wrestle, and he's an Aussie. So he travels a little bit. Woodson travels well more at 34, 6'2", long, lean, lanky, 11-inch reach advantage. So if he can keep it on the feet, kicking and striking, he's going to have advantage. But if Jenkins could get in on him and get him down, I think he's got a really good opportunity. And Jenkins is an underdog here. Sometimes Woodson can be frail, and I think there's enough dog in Jenkins to take. And Jenkins is desperate. I think there's enough dog in Jenkins to take him late. I lean to Jenkins here as an underdog.
Yeah, right now he's plus 130, and we use DraftKings here on Thursday morning for those of you catching us at another time out there as well for Jenkins. On that, that's the closest prelim fight kind of odds that you see out there from that side. Then you get to the main event, and you're getting more of those, a lot of black pictures out there, shadow pictures there, which either means, late fighters added in or new fighters coming into this deal.
It's some of those road to the UFC, and then they bring them in. What actually happens is some of those fights are taped, and the results is already known because the real fighters who won have been off a week waiting to fight on Saturday. But the Friday thing they show is taped, and if you don't want to, if you want to know, you can find out. Obviously, you can't bet them after the result. I don't think that. I mean, they were born at night, but not last night. So it's that hanky panky. So I don't pay attention to it. You got to be in the UFC, have a couple fights in order to catch my attention.
Absolutely. So I tell you what, on the lower part of the main card here, Any fights that you said you only got a few, a couple you're looking at.
High,
So,
but
yeah.
I got
We'll go
three
through 'em.
to
Yeah.
I got three to talk about. The first one is Perez and Sue Mudaerji. That is a rematch from 5-6 months ago, where they were having a fight also in China somewhere, Mudaerji's backyard, and Perez, the shorter guy with a more well-rounded skill sets, working and pressing forward to try and get in, and Sue kicked him dead smack in the loin, and the fight was stopped. And so now they've let everybody recover. They're coming back. And so Sue is a long striker that has been training at Team Alpha Male, learning how to utilize takedown defense and eventually get an evolution into wrestling. Wrestling takes a long, long time to acquire, but he's trying. And there are many Chinese fighters, Yadong on this card, Yan Xiaonan on this card. All of those Chinese fighters are at Alpha Male, and they're learning how to wrestle because they are really apt at striking, and that's how Sue is. Now he takes on Alex Perez, who's been in with better, and he's probably ranked a little bit higher for this rematch. Sue wants to replace Perez. Perez, 34, Sue 30, so it's not that big an age difference. Perez just hasn't been overly active. So in the first fight, Sue was probably winning when the kick occurred in the second round, I want to say. Now in this fight, Perez going to China again. This fight, what's the total here? 2.5?
2.5, and it's minus 105 to the over, minus 125 to the under.
Yeah, because Perez had better finish Sue, because if it's a close fight, it's going to be home cooking. So tough one for Perez. Sue opens minus 170. Now he's minus
218.
Now he's minus 218. So competitive fight, rematch, should be interesting. Probably lean to Sue decision unless I have some reason to think that Perez can get it done.
Now, because the other fighter is local and Perez, traveling obviously over there and things to that effect, weigh-in's important on this at all?
Well, no, because Sue will get there. He trains in California at Team Alpha Male, so he's got to travel too. The thing is, he traveled 10 days ago.
That's what I'm getting at. He traveled home, right?
Yeah.
He traveled home, whereas Perez has to go and stay in a hotel.
That's right. It's a little different for Perez. So, you can the travel isn't the aspect, but Perez's weight cut will be of interest because Perez has missed weight before.
Interesting on that perspective. What's the next one you got for us here?
We'll go to co-main event where we have Denise Gomez against Yan Xiaonan. Yan Xiaonan, 37 years old, 11 years older. We haven't seen her since 4 of 25 in a loss against a grappler, Verna Jandaroba. Now she gets this little short, compact power puncher and Gomez. I'm not sure the name. Yan Xiaonan opens minus 210, and she's the Chinese fighter. Now she's minus
142.
So money's come in on Gomez, and you know what? That 11 years younger is a huge, huge factor here. Yan Xiaonan, yes, she's Chinese, but been off so long. This Gomez could just be a half a step and a half a quick too much for Yan Xiaonan here. I may have to, I hate to be the last one in on the dog, when the money's going that way. Probably wait and watch weigh-in, see what goes on, see where the prices are. But I do think I lean a little bit to Gomez, the Brazilian fighter.
And it's plus 120 right now, but over under 2.5 on this, minus 298 to the over. So they're saying decision here. So, you could get a little bit. If it's a close decision, obviously, you got to kind of think about that.
Fight does not go the distance, plus 185. Why do I know that?
Why do you know that, Lou? Pick up on that, if you would, folks. And then you got the main card here, the main event of the main card, if I can speak. Bantamweight bout here between Umar Nurmagomedov and Song Yadong here as well. And Song Yadong, I've seen a few times fight, and I haven't been too impressed with him on that. He's a big underdog coming into this.
He's chiseled, he's fast, he's willing, he's tough, he's focused, he's dedicated, great hands, tough as he can be, good jiu-jitsu, wrestling evolving. He's a legitimate top 6 guy in the division without question, though. when he gets to an O'Malley or an Nurmagomedov, it gets tough. And you got Dvalishvili and Jan in there too. I mean, it's a wrecking crew, but Song Yadong belongs. If I can play the tongue twister.
Yeah, he just beat Figueiredo, I think, last time he fought.
Yeah, he beat the brakes off Figueiredo. And then Nurmagomedov, Song's opponent, fought Figueiredo to a decision. And so everybody thinks Umar is, not all that. And this fight's probably going to be a decision because that's how much respect I have for Yadong. But I don't care where they hold this fight. Umar, his wrestling, I think, is just too much here. And he's going to take Yadong down. He's going to be able to keep him down. He's just going to have to rain enough damage on him in order to be able to win this fight convincingly.
Okay. He's a 600 favorite right now.
Yeah, that doesn't reflect Yadong's capability. And so I could see myself, especially if I think it's going to decision, maybe looking at the points with Yadong if they were 7.5 maybe.
Plus 5.5 right now.
Yeah, I know they're 5.5. Yeah. That makes it a little tougher, but we'll see how things change in the next few days. But it's tough betting fights when one guy's -6 and the other guy's +5.
Right. And it's just, I'll have to pay attention to Song Yadong. It's just, I mean, I'm not saying he's not capable. I'm just saying his last couple of fights, I just haven't been like, this is somebody that's a powerhouse and be paying attention.
He's very.
I don't know. You might have to pay attention.
I believe he's top 6 in a really killer weight class.
Over under on the main event here is over 4.5 -220 to the over as well. But you're saying probably going to be a wrestling more of a wrestling match than a striking match, most likely.
I'm not. Could Umar get him out of there with a submission? Maybe. And I'm sure he's going to try, but I see a decision, and I see Umar getting his hand raised.
All right, perfect.
I can't get more specific.
So we're from the Pudong district over in China. Oriental Sports Center is where this is at. 3 a.m. is the main card this weekend, which means you guys stay up, folks, if you want to watch the prelims here as well for Saturday's fight. There is a UFC fight on Friday night, just so you guys know out there as well. If you're interested in that, if you're interested in seeing a couple UFC fights.
And a kid named Flowers. That should be an interesting fight. Mahashate long and lean and Flowers short and compact. Flowers going to try and knock his head right off his shoulders. Might do it.
Yeah, that's the main event there in that Friday night one. So and that's also 2 a.m. Mountain Standard Time as well for that fight this weekend. So you're going to be up all night if you watch all the UFC this weekend. Lou, as always, thanks for joining us here on this Thursday. For everybody else, I'll see you tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock here on the YouTube and on demand as well. Catch us there, folks. We'll see you then. Have a great Thursday night.